Come, sit beside me, child. Yes, right here. Let the evening air calm you. Let the quiet settle into your bones. Tonight, I want to tell you a story from a time so old, so gentle, that people today would call it impossible, but it was real. I lived it. And even though my hair has gone white and my steps have grown slow, my memories of that time are as fresh as the morning dew on grass. It was a village unlike any other. A small place tucked between golden fields and tall hills, the kind of place where the wind carried laughter and nights were filled with chirping crickets and oil lamps glowing softly behind clay windows. But what made our village truly special was something simple yet unbelievable to ears of today. Not a single house had a lock. Not one, child. Doors rested on wooden hinges, not bolted from fear. Windows stayed open at night so the moonlight could slip in. People slept without worry. If someone needed salt, they would walk into the neighbor's house even if no one was home, take a pinch, leave a smile, and go. And if someone baked bread, they sent the first warm piece to the house next door. We lived without fear because we lived as one family. A village without locks because it was a village without strangers. Every morning started with the same melody, the old bell from the banyan tree ringing 3 times. That was the signal that the day had begun. Farmers headed to fields. Women walked to the river with pots on their heads. Children ran barefoot through dusty paths, chasing dragonflies in dreams. And in the evenings, the whole village gathered at the central courtyard, where elders would tell stories while the younger ones prepared tea. I remember my grandfather, your great-great-grandfather, saying something again and again. Fear enters only when the heart becomes empty. And our hearts were full of trust, full of belonging, full of each other. But child, life has a peculiar way of testing what we treasure most. Our test came in the form of a stranger. It was an early winter morning. Mist hung low, and the air smelled of wet soil. The village was quiet, except for roosters crowing in the distance. I still remember the sound of footsteps, heavy, slow, unfamiliar. When we turned, we saw him, a man wrapped in a dark coat, carrying a worn-out bag. He walked differently, not like a villager with ease, but like someone who had walked too long without rest or kindness. His eyes kept scanning everything: the open windows, the unlocked doors, the goats tied loosely, the children running freely. The elders welcomed him with warmth. In our village, no one was turned away. A stranger was simply someone whose story we had not yet heard. He introduced himself as Arun, a traveler passing through. He was offered food, water, and a place to sleep in the guest hut near the river. But something in his eyes, something restless, unsettled me even as a child. That night, strange things happened. A sari went missing from Mira Auntie's clothesline. A copper pot vanished from the riverbank. And old Madhav's fruit basket, which he left outside every night, was found empty. Small things, nothing that would break a heart, but enough to create whispers. The elders gathered. They spoke in low voices. People said Arun was seen walking near the river long after everyone slept. Some said they heard footsteps near the storage shed. Others said they saw shadows by the cattle barns. But here is the beauty of our village. No one accused. No one shouted. No one pointed fingers. Instead, the chief simply said, "Let us talk to him in the morning." Morning came. Arun was invited to sit with the elders. They handed him breakfast, warm and fresh. And only then, gently, they asked if he had seen or heard anything unusual. But child, guilt has a strange way of twisting a man's tongue. Arun grew defensive, angry. He claimed he was being hunted. He said our kindness was fake. He said our village was foolish to keep doors unlocked. He mocked us, mocked the very thing that held our community together. When he stormed out, I remember what my grandfather said quietly to the chief. A man filled with fear cannot understand a world without it. We thought that was the end of trouble, but it was only the beginning. That night, long after the lamps were extinguished, a scream cut through the darkness. We ran out. The chief's house was in chaos. His grain sack had been cut open, grain spilled everywhere. His wooden chest was thrown aside, and near the door, footprints leading toward the river. Fear gripped the village for the first time in decades. People looked at their open doors, their sleeping children, their unguarded belongings. The chief gathered everyone and said words that still echo in my memory. Tonight, fear has entered our village, not because someone stole from us, but because we stopped believing in each other. The next morning, surprisingly, Arun did not run away. He stayed. But his face was harder now, suspicious, guarded. And then, something unexpected happened. Grandfather went to meet him. I followed quietly, hiding behind a tree. I wanted to see what my old grandfather, gentle, soft-spoken, slow in his steps, would say to a man who had brought fear into our home. He sat beside Arun without a word, just sat. The river flowed quietly beside them. After a long silence, Grandfather finally spoke. "Do you know why we have no locks?" he asked. Arun didn't reply. Grandfather continued. "Locks were invented when people began treating each other as enemies instead of family. But here, we never let fear grow enough to build those walls." Arun's voice broke a little. "You don't understand. The world outside is cruel. If you don't protect what's yours, someone will take it." Grandfather looked at him not with anger, not with judgment, but with deep sadness. "My son," he said gently, "sometimes people steal not because they need things, but because they have forgotten what it feels like to be trusted." Arun's shoulders shook. He looked away, his eyes filled with tears he didn't want to show. We later learned the truth. He had grown up on streets. He never knew family, never knew kindness, never slept in a home without locking everything he owned. Trust was a luxury he had never tasted. And when he came to our village, all that trust, all that openness, frightened him. Instead of embracing it, he tested it. He stole not out of greed, but out of fear. Fear that kindness was a trap, fear that people were pretending, fear that he was the outsider in a world of belonging. Grandfather touched his shoulder. "If someone gives you trust, don't break it. Hold it gently, because a person who trusts you is giving you a piece of their heart." Something changed in Arun that day. I could see it. His face softened. His hands stopped shaking. Something heavy lifted from his chest. And the next morning, he did something none of us expected. He returned everything he had taken. Every pot, every piece of cloth, every grain of rice. He placed them in the center of the courtyard and bowed his head publicly. "I do not ask for forgiveness," he said in a trembling voice. "I only ask for a chance to learn how to live the way all of you live." The villagers didn't shout. They didn't scold. They didn't shame. The chief simply stepped forward, put a hand on his shoulder, and said, "Stay with us, earn trust, and you will receive more than you ever took." And so Arun stayed. He helped farmers in fields. He carried water for elders. He repaired roofs after rainstorms. He played with children. He learned our songs. He laughed with us. And slowly, so slowly, that we barely noticed, one lock appeared. But not on a door, not on a chest, on his heart. Not a lock to close, but a lock that finally opened. One evening, months later, he stood in the same courtyard and said, "I used to think strength came from protecting what was mine, but now I know strength comes from belonging to others." And child, that is how a man who arrived as a stranger became one of our own. Years passed. Children grew. Fields changed colors with seasons. Lives began and lives ended. But through all that time, our village never installed a single lock, because we learned something priceless. Fear builds walls. Trust builds homes. Today, as I sit here with you, And I see a world full of locks. Locks on doors, locks on phones, locks on hearts. I wish people remembered what we once knew. A village without locks is not a place. It is a way of living, a way of believing, a way of loving without fear. And now, child, I give this story to you. Carry it everywhere you go. And when the world feels cold, be the warmth. When the world feels frightened, be the trust. When the world closes its doors, keep yours open. Because the world needs another village without locks.